So welcome to this section where we'll talk about what is text-to-text generation. Now I'm not going to spend a lot of time here primarily because we've already spent decent amount of time understanding what is generative AI. So text-to-text generation is a type of generative AI that uses machine learning algorithms to generate new text based on the input given to the model. The generated text is similar to the input text but is also unique and can be used for various purposes such as writing articles, creating social media posts, and even writing scripts. For example, imagine you're a news writer and you want to write an article about a new scientific study. Instead of spending hours reading and researching the study, which is something that we've been doing until now, you can use a text-to-text generation model to generate a summary of the study and use that as a basis for the article to start off with. I'd still encourage you to go out there, speak to users, because the machine won't do that. But the idea is to get at least a high level summary of things. You can use model like this, or to just write a blog article that can be very basic, can solve a very basic problem for your users per se. The generated summary will contain the key information from the study, but it will be more concise and easy to understand. Another example is a company that needs to generate customer support resources, right? So instead of having a customer support team to write a response for each query, a text-to-text generation model can be trained on a data set of customer inquiries and responses, then can be used in order to generate new responses to newer type of queries that come in. So it will understand the type of query coming in, it will understand how our product works, and instead of having a customer support team in the place, the model can automatically answer the questions for your customers. In a nutshell, text-to-text generation models are trained on a data set of input-output pairs. They learn the probability distribution of input and output pairs. They can be used to generate new text on a given input text, which can save time and resources, which also provide high degree of consistency, quality, and human-like quality. When I say quality, in the generated text per se. There are obvious drawbacks with this approach. Firstly, that the machine only knows as much as you've trained it to learn. So while it can try and generate new content, if there is something that is recent and the machine does not know about it, you won't be able to answer that question or generate the text. It is also noted that there are flaws when it comes to certain answers. So this is the second drawback of the machine per se, where it does not understand the question itself, or maybe gives out a wrong answer. So there is always a component of doing the quality check, at least when you first start using tools that enable you to generate these texts. Now the tool that we're going to be using in this course itself is going to be ChatGPT. I'll give you a quick introduction of what ChatGPT is if you haven't heard already about it. It uses GPT engine, which allows you to generate text from the input text that is fed by you as a user to the machine. It is currently free, so it's not charging you money in order to use it, and I think it's primarily because they're trying to do research. They've also, as of very recently, they've also released a 3.5 version which charges you $42 to use, but the ChatGPT 3 version still continues to be free, and it has seen tremendous growth. It's been like 1.5 months since it last launched, but it has seen tremendous amount of growth. Either ways, what we'll do is we'll move forward with the lecture itself in the second lecture, where we'll talk about the introduction to ChatGPT, the history of ChatGPT, how it works, and walk you through the tool. I'll teach you the main component of the tool, which is prompts, how they work, and how to build best prompts for your queries, questions, etc., and also walk you through the resources where you can find them. So let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to this next lecture where we'll learn a little bit about ChatGPT. Now, this is not going to be your normal ChatGPT lecture, right? Effectively, a lot of people already know about what ChatGPT is, but very small percentage of these people actually know how to use the tool. And the entire ability to use this tool correctly comes from the understanding that you know how to use prompts. And it's not easy to generate prompts, but I have a repository of more than 200 prompts that can help you automate anything you want, any type of content creation you want using ChatGPT. So let's get started. Let's first understand what is ChatGPT, right? Generative Pre-trained Transformer is a chatbot that was launched by OpenAI in November 2022. Now this is built on top of OpenAI's GPT 3.5 family of large language model, and it's fine-tuned to supervise and reinforce learning techniques. Now all of this is the textbook definition. Effectively, It's a bot. It's like a chatbot that allows you to have conversations with a computer-based agent, which is trained which is trained on almost all the data out there on the internet. It works by using machine learning models to analyze text inputs and generate responses that are intended to mimic human conversation. ChatGPT can be used for a wide range of purposes, right? So it can, answer your questions, provide information, or just, get into generic casual conversation if you want to. One of the key factors that determines the success of ChatGPT is primarily how you ask it questions, right? Everyone can type a bunch of questions and get certain answers, but if you want the real essence, the best way to automate your content, then you need to learn how to write prompts correctly, and which is something that I will be walking you throughout this lecture itself. But before we jump into this whole understanding of how prompts work, let's quickly kind of look at the history of ChatGPT, right? So GPT-3 is a large-scale language model, like I said, developed by OpenAI. And this is a third iteration of the GPT series, which began in GPT-1 in 2018 and then continued with the GPT-2 in 2019. Each iteration of the model has been more powerful with respect to the processing power, and the largest model to date, which is GPT-3, has 175 billion parameters. It is trained on a diverse set of dataset, right, from the internet text, which includes books, articles, and websites. The model is able to generate text in a wide range of styles and formats, and this depends on the kind of prompts you ask to the model. And it can also perform wide range of natural processing tasks such as language translation, question and answering, and text summarization. But one of the most interesting thing of GPT-3 is that it can generate text almost indistinguishable from the text written by a human. This has opened up obviously a lot of potential applications of GPT-3, such as content generation, language translation, and chatbot development. Since its release, it has received a lot of attention and was the fastest product in the world to reach the million signups. So obviously there's like a huge wave of people, there is obviously a huge worry in people that this is going to be replacement of content creation, and at the same time people are also looking at positive side of things where rightly ChatGPT can automate a lot of day-to-day content and effectively enable people to be more productive and things to happen more faster. But this is like a very, very high level understanding of what ChatGPT is, the use cases, and the quick history of the product. Now that you have the understanding on what ChatGPT is, let's actually get our hands dirty on ChatGPT. Subsequent lecture, what we'll do is we'll quickly sign up, walk through the platform itself, salient features of the product, and then we'll move on to actually doing the prompts and running the prompts. So let's move forward. Okay, so the sign up process is very simple, right? So you need to click on try and then it opens the screen, so you sign up. So if you've already signed up, just skip a few seconds on this and I'll just directly jump in the platform and walk you through how it works. Okay, so once you sign up, you'll see that there is a pop-up saying that this is a free research preview. Effectively, so what it wants to communicate that this they are still building this model and they want to ensure that they can gather enough feedback in order to improve and grow over time. And it also kind of gives you a disclaimer that it can occasionally generate incorrect or misleading information. And I have one such question that will lead ChatGPT to give out the incorrect answer. I'll walk you through how that works. So conversations may be reviewed by trainers. Please don't share any sensitive information. This system is optimized for dialogue that has no particular response was good or unhelpful. Cool. So now we're in. So this is how the UI, the latest UI as of January 2023 looks like. Let's quickly go through the UI as well. But before we jump into the UI, let's quickly kind of take a look at the salient features of the ChatGPT, right? So number one is customization. ChatGPT can be used to customize these and suit the needs and preferences of the user. This customization can be done with respect to tone and style of ChatGPT responses. Personalization, it uses personalized response in order to use the user's past interactions and then power the response to the end user. It can support multiple languages, and finally it's able to handle like large volume of questions that come to the input per se. So how it works is that these are some examples, right? So you can ask it to explain certain hard computing terms or tough terms to explain in simple terms, basically simplify content. You can get some ideas. You can get code ideas, right? You can get actual code that you can use, and I've done it before. I'll show you how it works. Capabilities: it remembers what the user had said. It allows users to provide feedback and follow up corrections. It is trained to decline inappropriate requests, may occasionally generate incorrect information, etc., etc. So the UI is pretty simple, right? So this section itself will store all your chats. This is where you ask ChatGPT certain questions, and this is the most important one, right? So it says limited knowledge of world and events after 2021. So effectively, it's trained extensively on data that was available prior to 2021, but if you ask something which is recent, it will not be able to give you the answer as clearly. So that said, let's start using ChatGPT now. Alright, welcome to the next lecture, which is probably the most important lecture in this section per se, and it's about prompting. So you may have not heard this term before this, right? So prompting is the way in which the computer interprets what you're trying to ask to the system. Again, we've mentioned this before, the quality of prompts used in the ChatGPT conversation will significantly impact the success of the conversation. So if your prompts are good, it will ensure that the conversation stays on track, topics of interest are covered by the user. So what makes a good ChatGPT prompt, and how you can craft effective prompts that drive engaging and effective user conversation. So there are three major pillars to this, right? So first is clarity. A clear and concise prompt will help ensure that ChatGPT understands the topic or task at hand and is able to generate like an appropriate response. If you ask it complex questions, it will give you answers that may not be so clear or easy to understand. Focus on what needs to what you need to derive from the prompts, right? So a well-defined prompt should have a clear purpose and focus, helping to guide conversation and keeping it on track. Avoid using overly broad or open-ended prompts. Third is relevance. Make sure your prompts are relevant to the user and conversation. Avoid introducing unrelated topics or tangents that can distract from the main focus, right? So obviously the benefits are clear. You will have an improved understanding. Your focus will be enhanced, and it'll ensure that you have greater efficiency at what you do. Now some examples of effective and ineffective ChatGPT prompts, right? So effective ChatGPT prompts are: can you provide me a summary of the main points from the article? The benefits of eating yogurt. What are the best restaurants in Paris that serve non-vegetarian food? Ineffective prompts. Now let's take some examples of ineffective prompts. What can you tell me about the world? This is a very, very broad prompt. It's not focused. So this is not very clear. Can you help me with my homework? Again, this prompt is clear and specific, but it's too open-ended. Plus it also does not tell you about what you need help with, right? And finally, how are you? This is good for common conversation. And does not provide a clear focus or purpose. Like I said, the principle of writing a good prompt and to get clear responses will be clarity, conciseness, and relevance. So that in mind, I'm gonna give you a very cool hack that can help you ace any ChatGPT conversation, right? and this hack is called the act as hack. Now, this is one of the most useful techniques for crafting effective ChatGPT prompts is the act as hack, right? So the technique involves using the phrase act as in the prompt to tell ChatGPT to assume a specific role or persona in the conversation. This can be useful for creating more engaging and immersive conversations for, simulating real world scenarios. So for example, if you are preparing for an interview, you can tell ChatGPT to act as an interviewer, and what it can then effectively do is ask you questions, you can keep answering, it will ask you another question, you can keep answering. So this becomes like a whole conversation, then one way question and feedback kind of a loop, right? So you can also tell it to act like a detective, and it can give you clues to help you reach the final answer. So you can also do fun things. Let's try one question, right? So I have more than 200 prompts, so we'll be playing around. I want you to act as a debater. I'll provide you with some topics related to current events, and your task is to research both sides of the debates, present valid arguments for each side, refuse opposing points of view, and draw a persuasive conclusion based on evidence. Your goal is to help people come away from the discussion with increased knowledge and insight into topic at hand. My first request is I want an opinion piece about dinner. Let's take the will AI take jobs debate. Okay, so this is the question we asked it. Now what it will do is that it will act as a debater, someone who's debating against it or with it, and it will give you a whole argument. So the debate whether or not AI will take jobs around the advances will be previously done by humans. So it looks like it's giving the arguments for AI taking jobs, and it also gives you argument against AI taking jobs. The increased capabilities of AI tech automation has already led to jobs in certain industry. So it gives you both side of the arguments, and if you look at this prompt, right, so it is very, very clear as what it wants, right? So it has the character you want the AI to act as. It is very concise. It says that I want you to do I want you to give me both points, valid and opposing points. Your goal is to help people come away from the discussion. So the focus is to ensure that people in this discussion have some understanding by the end of this discussion. So it has all the elements of having the right prompt in place. And you can now use this prompt and ask any question or a debate, and it will be able to generate like a very concise, clear and super helpful conversation about that topic. Now let's try something else. I have a funny one. Let me find it. Okay, now let's try this. So I want you to act as a stand-up comedian. I'll provide you with some topics related to current events, and you will use your wit, creativity, observational skills to create a routine based on these topics. You should be able to incorporate personal anecdotes or experiences into the routine in order to make it more relatable, engaging for the audience. My first request is I want a humorous take on politics. So I would rather ask it to I want a funny take on AI taking jobs. Let's ask it this question. Okay. Okay, so it's clear that it's not able to perform as a stand-up comedian as... Okay, either ways, it's giving us some details, right? So I heard AI is taking jobs, but I'm not worried. After all, I don't think robots are ready to do stand-up comedy yet. That's a human skill, if you ask me. Like folding fitted sheets. That's just great. Now I have to compete with robots for my dream job being professional coach. They say I was taking, but I don't believe it. I mean, have you seen a robot try to make food? Okay, I like watching a robot. So you can see that while it gave you a disclaimer that it is not having, it is not capable of, you know, having personal anecdotes or experiences, but it can give you some examples of the joke. But it was like, at least I was able to get some direction on what it wants to do. Let's request AI to act as a motivational coach. I'll provide you with some information about someone's goals, challenges. It will be your job to come up with strategies that can help the person achieve these goals. This could involve providing positive affirmations, giving helpful advice, or suggesting activities that I need help motivating myself. Let's use this. So you can see that the act as hack effectively puts AI in a role play position, right? And then the next set of prompts are more specific and precise on what you want the AI to achieve. Okay. I will study for 2 hours. This will give you break up your study. So if you were to write a prompt on the lines of, say, act as a motivational coach, it gives you a very concise answers. But if you were to ask, motivate me to stay disciplined while studying for an upcoming exam, it would have given you something else which might have been generic and it might have found it on the internet. But because we told it to act like a motivational coach, it was able to step in the shoes of this person or the character, and then walk us through how we should be able to get there, especially from the perspective of what it knows. So effectively, like, the goal of using prompts correctly is to ensure that these conversations continue to stay relevant. Secondly, it's likely that in the future this tool may be monetized, meaning you may have to pay to use this tool. Right now it's free. So you need to ensure that what you ask is crisp, relevant, and clear for the machine to understand and process. Because if that does not happen, you'll end up spending more money, driving very little results as a result from the. Let's try one final one, and then I'll show you the repository on where you can find all of these prompts. Okay, let's try. I want you to act as a poet. You will create poems that evoke emotions and have the power to stir people's soul. Write on any topic or theme, but make sure your words convey the feeling you are trying to express. You can also come up with short verses that are still powerful enough to leave imprint in the reader's mind. I need a poem about love. I need a poem about computers. Let's try this. So one of the challenges that the AI industry has faced until now is that machines weren't able to do creative work, but we can clearly see all that is changing, right? So a symphony of ones and zeros, a dance of code and data. So this is really cool. Like I said, right, it's easy for you to just write prompt and ask it questions, right? But you need to ensure that in order for ChatGPT to incorporate all those emotions in perspective, you make the prompt really crisp, clear, and focused in order to get results like these. So that's all for this lecture. I hope you get an understanding of how these prompts work. In the next session, I'll show you the resource where you can get all of these prompts, and I'll also play around with some of the prompts, taking some of the prompts from there. So these prompts belong to that resource, and we'll discuss how you can use those prompts in order to kind of make your conversations more specific, clear, and concise. So see you in the next lecture. Hey guys, welcome to this next lecture. In this lecture, I'll show you where you can get access to like really helpful ChatGPT prompts in order to at least get your structure aligned before you start asking ChatGPT certain questions. Now there is a GitHub repository and it's free. I'm gonna add the, so I'm gonna open it here so you can see this is the repository. This link will be, so this link will be available in the video description. Go ahead and open it, and this is how the repo looks like. While you can download a desktop tool for this, I would recommend just scrolling at the bottom and use these prompts. So you can see that there are a bunch of prompts that people have consolidated over time, and they can use it, and you can use it as a template in order to generate content that you feel is relevant from your standpoint, right? So what we'll do is we'll take 3 or 4 of these prompts and we will try to see what you can do, how you can use these prompts in order to automate your day-to-day work. So let's take this first one. I want you to act as a tech reviewer. I will give you the name of the new piece of technology and you will provide me with in-depth review, including pros, cons, features, comparisons to other technologies in the market. My first suggestion request is, I'm reviewing iPhone 11 Pro Max. So instead let's do VR Oculus Quest 2. Okay, let's see. So the reason why these prompts do well, right, is because there's a component of the role play. It is giving its purpose, right? So the purpose is to provide you the in-depth review, and then it's making it focused by saying that include pros, cons, features, and comparisons to other technology. So it's crisp, focused, and it's very clear on the purpose of what it needs to do. So when you give a prompt to the GPT engine, prompt like this, it'll generate a very clear understanding on what you want to achieve, right? So this was able to give me all I want, and I think this is something that can actually help you generate really cool content that you can either use in your videos or merely write blogs and automate a bunch of stuff you do on a day-to-day basis. So this is the first prompt. Now let's go ahead and try something else. Oh, this is interesting. Act as a lunatic. Okay, at least it gives us variety. I need help in creating lunatic sentences from a new series called Hot Skull. So write 10 sentences for me. Let's try this. Oh, very interesting. Encouraging. Okay. So that's a very good thing to do. You can see when you ask questions like these, it will give you I think this is the moderation in place where it looks for keywords like this, gives you certain answers, and I think I appreciate this feature. Okay, let's try the social media influencer part. I want you to act as a social. You will create content for various pages on Instagram and engage with followers in order to. Again, it gave the purpose. You will create content. It made it focused in order to increase brand awareness and promote products or services. An engaging campaign and promote a new line of athleisure clothing. So rather promote a new AI powered tool that contains a bunch of AI tools. Okay. As an AI. Okay, usually. Okay, so it's walking us through the framework. So the idea being that there are certain things that it used to do before, right? So these things like these, the AI was able to do previously, but because of the either backlash or content plagiarism, what the OpenAI team has done, it has restricted the scope to which the AI can now write answers. But regardless, keep trying some of these prompts, because maybe these may be relevant. Some of these may be relevant to your use case. So this could be interesting. Okay, I want you to act as a public speaking coach. You will develop clear communication strategies, provide professional advice, teach effective techniques for capturing. My first suggestion is that if I need help coaching or executive has been asked to deliver keynote. Let's try this. So this works. Now let's try to do something with code and then try the translation. I will give you the Python code and you execute it. Do not provide any explanations. Do not respond with anything except the output of the code. Okay, we can do this. I think this is not too hard. Let's instead try to tell it to write code. Okay. So all of these are more from the lines of being generic, but at least it gives you like a starting framework on how you want to proceed further. Now let's try this. I want you to act like a Python interpreter, Python code, and you will execute it. Do not provide any explanations. Do not respond with anything except the output of the code. So I had written a very basic code using ChatGPT itself to kind of get these details off of the this website. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the same code and put it here to see if it's able to execute the data now. Okay. Okay, so this I'm gonna replace this. Let's see if this works. Okay, it recognizes I'm trying to scrape it. It's parsing the HTML content, these two blocks, correct. The fact that it is able to read through the code itself is amazing. Okay. Not produce any output, it will save the scraped data on the external. It makes complete sense. So this is what the code actually did. And you can see that if you want to debug your code or merely write code, so if you what you can do is you can tell it to write code that will scrape these two things from any website, right? So I've given this link and then you can run this code. But what I did not think it did well is that I told it to execute it and not provide any explanation. Do not respond with anything except the output of the code. But it went ahead and anyways gave you the explanation. So you can see this is not completely perfect, but at least it's trying to do what it could do best. Now let's try in some other language, right? So I'm looking, let's try this. Okay, generate digital startup ideas based on the wish of the people. For example, when I say I wish there's a big, large mall in small town, you generate a business plan for digital startup, complete with idea name, a short one-liner, when target persona is a payment. So this is like writing a short BRD for the product. Okay, let's try it. Makes sense. Again, it's giving me a framework on how you should do this. Let's try something else. Let's try this. I want you to act as SpongeBob's magic conch shell. For every question I ask you, only answer one word or either. Maybe someday, I don't think so, or trying again. Don't give an explanation, but answer my first question. Shall I go to jellyfish today? Jellyfish today. Maybe. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, act as a salesperson, try to market something to me, but make sure you're trying to market valuable than it is to convince to. Now I'm going to pretend you're calling me on a phone. With your new feature. So you can see it was able to write a sales script. Now let's try and make this a little interesting. Let's try this. So we put in Sanskrit. हम तुम्हारे लिए एक अनोखा अवसर देते हुए इसमें. So it's writing it in Sanskrit, but the script is still Roman, I guess. But yeah, I think you get the point on how you can use this resource in order to make certain modifications and then still end up using these prompt structures in order to generate good prompts. And I think for this lecture, this is mostly going to be it. In the next lecture, I'll walk you through certain use cases that you can use with ChatGPT to automate your day-to-day work. See you in the next lecture. Hey guys, if you're one of those people who created a bunch of blogs after ChatGPT came out and published it on your website, there is a problem that you should know about. So there are tools now in the market that will detect if your content was created using ChatGPT or any GPT engine, right? Or basically any AI based content writer. Now, my gut is that this detector kind of understands the text, the language in which the text has been written, and then kind of infers if the text was written by a machine or a person. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to bypass that check. So the content that you generate using ChatGPT, at least moving forward, or the content that you've already generated using ChatGPT in the past, you can use this method in order to ensure that in the future, when Google implements methodology in place where it is detecting AI content and reducing the rank of that content, you will be able to if not bypass, at least do better in those regards. So I'm going to walk you through this. Let's first do this, right? So let's tell ChatGPT to generate content for us. Act as a content writer and write a blog post on is AI content fake content. Number of words to be 100. Target audience to be students. Keep tone as professional. Now, note that this is not my first video on generative AI tools. If you're interested in knowing what is generative AI, how it works, then feel free to check my other videos out. Specifically, if you want to understand how to generate AI avatars using Stable Diffusion, I have a video on that. 10 ChatGPT prompts product managers should use, what is generative AI, and then very recently text to music, which was a research web page released by Google. So I've walked you through that as well. So check those videos out if you're interested in generative AI or the tools that enable you to generate content or automate content using generative AI per se. But let's now ask ChatGPT to write a blog on this regards, and let's see what it throws out. By the way, this was going to happen sooner or later. While tools such as ChatGPT allow you to create content real quickly, there are obvious fallbacks or drawbacks of this approach. A lot of the content that comes in now may look like human-like, but really does not add any value to the end user. So it kind of destroys the whole purpose of creating these blogs to help your end users, which enable Google to ensure that your discovery is better. But if tools like ChatGPT automate the whole content creation process, it's problematic not only for Google but also for the users who are now searching on content for Google, and which in turn impacts the way Google people, kind of come to Google in the first place, right? So if I'm a user, I want to search for a blog post that enables me to detect AI content, right? So if the entire content is written by AI and it's very generic, it's not going to add any value. So in turn, I'm not going to come to Google for it. So it's a real problem for Google, which is also why the whole AI content detector thing may blow up in the near future. Now, so the content is ready. Let's just Google, which is writer.com's AI content detector, and I've pasted the same thing here, and you can see that 12% is the human generated content, which is very less, which means more than 85% is generated by AI. So like, how do you bypass this? How do you ensure that this is at least 70 to 85% when it comes to the blog post per se, right? So you go to this website called Quillbot, and then you paste the content here. For now I'm going to remove the extra words, and then what we'll do is we'll paraphrase this. Okay, so now you copy this content and you paste it here, then you analyze it. You can see the human generated content is now 93% merely by paraphrasing the content that was generated by AI. Let's try it for another blog. Okay, basically what I'm asking is, will paraphrasing something make this more human-like, right? So it's, again, nothing special here. Paraphrasing is merely a way to reword a piece of text in your own words, right? So obviously the answer is not no. It will not make it more human-like. In fact, it will make it more confusing for the end user, because now the user has to read it very uncomfortably. But speaking from the perspective of the content being detected as AI content, it will definitely reduce the probability there. Now let's take these two paragraphs, and I don't know if I can continue to use it in the free plan, but paste it here. And now we analyze the text. Oh, it looks like it's generated by humans. We need to take another paragraph. Okay, so if you if you like, I don't know why it detected higher human generated content for the early one, but if you add the whole thing, so my understanding also is that what it's doing, it's looking at these keywords. However, it is worth noting, and it's looking for repetition in the paragraph. If you generated a lot of content using AI, you will see that AI usually keeps repeating between the paragraphs, the same thing between the paragraphs, and I think that's what the engine itself is using. Now you copy this text and you paste it here. Again, it's way more words than necessary, so I'm going to remove these words. I'm going to paraphrase. So it changed the short answer to quick response, while paraphrasing all the paraphrase. Okay, let's copy and paste this content here and see where we are now. It's 100% human generated content. Let's do one final one. Okay, I think it will never write a 100-word blog post, but let's see if it can put something together. The reason I'm doing 100 word is that I don't have a paid plan for either of these tools, and my goal is to show you how you can bypass this check. So it doesn't matter the number of words, at least you know the methodology now in which you can bypass your content being detected as AI content. Again, my gut is that however is where majority of the issue is popping out. So if I paste it here, I analyze it, so it's 6% human generated content. I take the same text here, I paste it here. Again, the issue is that I don't have a premium plan here, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to paraphrase. Okay, now you copy this, you paste it here again, and you analyze it. 94% generated by human. So I think these are the two tools. Now again, you don't need to specifically use these tools. You can find any tools online, right? So effectively what you need to do is paraphrase your blogs before you upload it on the internet. It will bypass the AI content detector check for now, but in the future, if there are tools that can also detect paraphrasing, then we'll have to figure something else out. But for now, I think these two checks, especially the paraphrasing check, should be able to get you there. I hope this video was helpful. If yes, consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a like on this video. Share this across with a friend who might benefit from this, and I'll continue seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much.